I was in Washington. I ran into a gentleman who I verbally abused on this show many times, and we found out we liked each other, and we have common cause in saving the wonderful, great creatures of Africa. Senator Lindsey Graham, welcome to the Savage Nation. Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you. After meeting your wife, you can't be all bad.
Oh, rim shot. You know, when we were separating, you and I did get along, and the funny part is, I said to you, how come we're getting along? And am I allowed to say what you said about your upbringing?
Sure.
Senator Graham, who's actually a very personable man, said to me, well, Michael, he said, I grew up in a liquor... Did you say you grew up in a... Did you say a liquor store?
Or a restaurant, liquor store, pool room complex.
A pool room. You said you grew up in a pool room with a liquor store attached to it, and you learned how to talk to the average person, right?
Oh, yeah. Sober and drunk.
Well, no, it's an amazing thing in Washington to meet a real person who's willing to talk real. And rather than disagreeing with you, the time is so short to save these magnificent creatures. We are the last generation that can save them. It's that critical. Senator Graham, what can be done legislatively to stop the slaughter of these elephants?
Well, you got to get to the root cause. They're killed for their ivory. They're killed for economic gain, and the poor people have no choices. We've got to prove the lives of the people they recruit and go after the poachers and put them under the jail. The African elephant is a majestic creature, and God will look disfavorably on all of us if we let it be slaughtered the way it's being slaughtered. So we're going to push back.
Senator Graham, I know this is a passion for you. This is not just rhetoric. Who else in the Senate, on the Senate side, cares about these creatures?
Well, once you get to know the elephant, everybody. So it's my job to educate people. Dianne Feinstein's been great. We formed a coalition of Democrats and Republicans. Again, you got to go after the root cause: extreme poverty, extreme despair over there, and give people something, a more hopeful life rather than taking money to go slaughter elephants. And the people who trade in the ivory, they're the scourge of the earth and just have an international hammer on their head.
You had mentioned that you're going over to Africa on a mission with Bono, on a congressional mission. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm going to go over with a group of senators, the Gates Foundation, Rick Warren, faith-based people, NGOs, the One Foundation, the Gates Foundation. They're doing a lot of things in health, malaria, AIDS eradication. And I got a conservation group. The Walton family's been great on this. I may invite you and your wife to meet us. We're trying to galvanize the Congress to look at Africa as something worth saving, something worth fighting for, the people and the habitat, nature. We're going to fight the Chinese, we're going to fight the poachers, and we're going to show up in Africa and make a difference.
That's pretty amazing. I know your time is short, and I know this is one of the issues that you're passionate about. And and this coalition is very interesting to me, and I really would like to communicate with you, Senator, about possibly joining that group, even though I'm not a traveler. I did too much of it in my life. This sounds like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something really great. But let's talk about an issue that's very important to you, which is the Iran deal.
Absolutely.
Should President Trump, in your opinion, Senator Graham, rescind the Iran deal?
Yeah, he should withdraw because it's a bad deal for the world, Israel, and the region. It ensures that Iran can get a nuclear weapon in 15 years without cheating. 15 years from now, all the inspections go away. They can enrich and reprocess uranium without limitation. It's a pathway to a bomb. They haven't changed their behavior. You should make the world pick between the American banking system and the Iranian economy. He should get out if it's not changed.
Senator, Obama gave $150 billion to the Iranians. Where did that money come from? Does anybody know?
Well, it came from frozen assets. It came from, they had assets all over the world that were frozen. Here's a general rule of thumb. Don't buy a guy a knife who threatens to cut your throat. And it was the dumbest deal since Munich. You took a religious Nazi, the Ayatollah, who openly, advocates the destruction of the Jewish state, purifying his faith, bringing everybody in the world to their knees and, to bow to his view of religion. We gave him $150 billion, an enrichment reprocessing program that's not dismantled, it's just sort of slowed down. And, they mean it when they say they want to kill all the Jews. They mean it when they want to purify the Islamic faith in their image. And, Kerry and Obama were to crawl through glass for this deal. Thank God Trump's going to say, no, this is a bad deal.
Very interesting. Why are you so passionate about Israel? Are you raised in the Christian faith, I would assume?
Yeah, well, there are more Baptists than there are people in South Carolina, Michael. And
I love you. That's a funny line. So, but why the passion for Israel, Senator Graham?
Well, it's not just religion, It's a democracy. It's the one place in the Mideast where you can vote for your leaders. The rule of law replaces the rule of gun. There's an Arab on the Israeli Supreme Court. They share our values. Every enemy of Israel is an enemy of America. And if we give an inch on Israel, we're next. So we need to stand by those people in the Mideast, our Israeli friends, who share our values, who live in peace with us. And the people who want to destroy Israel want to destroy us. And that's a pretty simple proposition for me. If you don't have Israel's back, you're making a huge mistake.
So do you consider Iran a threat to the United States or just a threat to Israel?
The more young Americans were killed by IEDs, cone-shaped IEDs made by Hezbollah in Iran than any other device in Iraq. If you don't think they're our enemy, you just need to listen to them. When they chant death to America, do you think they're just kidding? Do you think the Ayatollah's got a base problem? He doesn't have to get elected. They say death to Israel, death to America, they mean it. The Ayatollah's a religious Nazi, Michael. People didn't believe Hitler wanted to kill all the Jews, but he did. The Iranian people are very cultured. They could be our allies. But this regime in Iran has got a mission to purify the Islamic faith, to get a land bridge from Tehran to Beirut. They want to destroy Israel, 160,000 rockets given to Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. And, they killed Americans. If you don't believe they're our enemy, you're just not listening to what they say and what they do.
No, I believe they're our enemy. I trust their rhetoric is coming straight from the Quran, which they take as the literal word of God. And they believe that Jews should be killed and the Christians should be brought to heel and turned into Muslims. I know exactly what they believe. So, but Senator Graham, what can be done to stop Iran in their revolutionary fervor to convert the world to this madness?
Number one, isolate them like we did North Korea. Withdraw from the agreement unless you can make it better. There should be no limitation based on the passage of time. Their program should be held in abeyance forever. Inspectors should never leave. We should have their ballistic missile program subject to sanctions. Make the Europeans pick between the American economy and the Iranian economy. We need to help Syrian Arabs fight back against Assad, who is a puppet of the Iranians. We need a counter-Iran strategy throughout Lebanon, Syria. We need to help the regime in Yemen. Saudi Arabia push back against the Houthis or a proxy against Iran in Yemen. We need to punish them economically and help our allies stand up to them. We need to give Israel more weapons so they can deal with the threats coming from Iran and Syria and Lebanon through Hezbollah and actually Iranian Revolutionary Guard units inside of Syria. Give Israel more, stand by our Arab allies, and push back against Iran on all fronts.
Wow. All I can say is let's shoot pool fast, Eddie. This is amazing. You're a man with immense knowledge of the subject, and you talk directly to the issue, Senator Graham. But before you leave us, and I know this is a short segment, just going back again to the African wildlife, could you explain to the average guy out there who thinks it's not a big deal to kill these creatures why it is a big deal?
Well, number one, it says a lot about humanity. The bottom line, these are majestic creatures that are a gift from God to all of us. And if you can sit on the sidelines and watch a magnificent elephant and all the herds be slaughtered, then you've lost your way as a human being. It's a humanitarian issue. I think we need to stabilize Africa. From an economic point of view, Africa will make more money over time preserving their wildlife and they will killing it. Terrorism is going to Africa, these vacuums that exist over there with extreme poverty, extreme ideology, and extreme climate. Saving the elephant helps stabilize Africa. Stabilizing Africa will create customers and friends rather than a breeding ground for terrorism And it's the one thing that should unite libertarians, vegetarians, Democrats, Republicans. These are majestic creatures, and we have a duty to protect these creatures.
You know, Senator Graham, when I went and saw the president on that trip to Washington, which was the high point of my life when I met you, and I went into the president, I brought this issue up. And I said I met Senator Graham, and he's very passionate about saving the elephants and the lions. You know what the president said to me? And my wife will vouch for it since you brought her up. I mean, she's absolutely going to vouch for this. He said, are you telling me they're still bringing that garbage? He says, why would anyone bring that into this country? I think the president believes that he reversed the order and restored the protections, but that someone went around and undermined him.
Well, there's an executive order. What we're trying to do is create legislation that will survive administrations, that will create legal regimes and penalties to go after the ivory trade and the poachers. I compliment the president for his executive action, but this is legislation that would have the force of a law beyond any particular administration, and I think could rally the world to a worthy cause. And if you see the elephants, if you spend any time in Africa, you will get bitten by the bug of loving that continent. And if you go to Africa and if the elephants don't move you, then you've got a problem.
Senator Graham, when is this trip to Africa that you are putting together?
The year, probably, I'm trying to get a vodka to go. I'm trying to make, Africa's a great prize. The Chinese are all over the place, raping the resources and, corruption, bringing in Chinese workers. President Bush did a PEPFAR program to help eradicate AIDS and to save millions of young Africans from certain death. But conservation in Africa will help the economy of Africa. It is the right thing to do in terms of economic and environmental policy. I'm going to do it at the end of the year. But I'm trying to get Republicans and Democrats focused on Africa. Don't give Africa to the terrorists, and don't give it to the Chinese.
Well, the president knows, because I bugged him on this issue for about 6 months now, and I bugged other people, the vice president, chief of staff. They know how passionate I am on this. I've been working in the environmental area for 40 years. I would like you to consider bringing me along, because I would be a great asset for you.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm trying to put the coalition from hell together. I'm trying to get liberals, conservatives, middle-of-the-road people, faith-based community, business people. It's good business. A lot of customers in Africa. It's the fastest-growing population on the planet. There's a lot of money to be made, a lot of power lines to be run, a lot of goods to be sold. I would like to preserve the environment over there, just to have some favor with God, if nothing else. So
I hear you. No, I hear the center of it. God, Faith, and Reason. That's the last book I wrote, and I know that what the word dominion means in the Bible is often misinterpreted by people who think it means slaughter and subdue. It means protect. It means protect. It does not mean slaughter. Senator Graham, I know that you have to go, and I know we're going to talk again before the end of the year. And if there's a spare seat in that airplane, I'll even sit in the back of that airplane.
Well, you need to be part of this coalition, because your voice added to this coalition can make a difference. We're going to get this done because it's the right thing to do.
I love it. So we will shoot pool fast, Eddie, on saving the elephants.
Adios. Thanks.
Adios, amigo. This is the Savage Nation. What a great, great time I just had. And you see what happens with people when you get to know them. He's not for the borders. He's against Trump. Well, maybe you're wrong. Maybe the stereotypes that the media has put out about me, about Donald Trump, even about our opponents, are just stereotypes. Let's talk about the whole person, not pieces. I'll be back in a minute. I'm Michael Savage.